Hey guys, Miss Fearing here. Today we're going to go ahead and look at Unit 1, Note 6, Writing Inequalities. My learning target for today is I can write and graph linear inequalities. Here are some of those symbols that we need to remember, those inequality symbols. So we have our less than symbol. Remember, it's a less than or equal to if it has a little extra piece underneath it. We also have our greater than symbol and our greater than or equal to piece if it has a little line under it. These are going to be really important for us today, and we're still going to be shading. So remember, less than tells me shade below, greater than tells me shade above. So we're going to look at example number 1. Hannah budgets $30 a month for lunch. On most days, she brings her lunch. She can also buy lunch at the cafeteria or at a fast food restaurant. She spends an average of $3 for lunch at the cafeteria and an average of $6 for lunch at a restaurant. How many times a month can Hannah buy her lunch and remain within her budget? So we want to know when the cost of eating in the cafeteria plus the cost of eating in a restaurant is less than or equal to 30. So in this situation, X is going to be my times I eat in a cafeteria, and I'm going to call the Y then the times I eat out the restaurant. So very important that we make sure our axes are labeled. So X is going to be my cafeteria, and Y is going to be my restaurant. So it cost me $3 to eat in the cafeteria. So 3x plus $6 to eat at a restaurant, so 6y, and I want that to be less than or equal to $30. Before we can go ahead and graph this, we need to be in slope-intercept form. So we need to go ahead and get the y alone, or solve for y. So we're going to start with subtracting 3x from both sides. That's going to go ahead and give me a 6y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 30. And now I have to divide by 6 from everything here. So I'm going to end up with y is less than or equal to negative 3 over 6. I can reduce down to 1 over 2x plus 5. So with this inequality, I'm now going to go ahead and graph it. So I have negative 1/2 x plus 5. So I'm going to go ahead and begin at my 5. I'm going to move down 1 over 2. Remember, the negative tells me I can go down. So since this is a less than or equal to, I know this is a solid line. And then less than tells me I shade below the line, so everything underneath it, which is going to give me all of my solutions of how many times I can eat in the cafeteria and the restaurant to stay below that $30. So here's number 2. Rosa sells radio advertisings in 30 seconds and 60-second time slots. During every hour, there are up to 15 minutes available for commercials. How many commercial slots can she sell for 1 hour broadcasting? It says to let X equal the number of 30-second commercials and Y the number of 60-second or 1-minute commercials. So my X is my 30-second, and my Y is my 60 seconds. So 30-second commercials are half of a minute. So since I'm in minutes right now, I'm going to write everything in minutes. So I get 1/2 X for my 30-second commercials, plus 1-minute commercials are my Y, so 60 seconds is 1 minute, so I get the 1Y. It has to be less than or equal to that 15 minutes total that I'm allowed. So again, to solve this, we need to go ahead and get the Y alone. So I'm going to subtract the 1/2 X. I'm going to get 1y is less than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 15. The y is alone now. Remember, 1y is the same thing as y. So I can graph this. I'm going to begin at 15. And I'm going to go down 1 over 2 over and over and over again. This is going to end up being a solid line again, because of the fact that it has the or equal to part. And then since it's a less than, I'm going to shade below again. Number 3, Lee Cooper writes and edits short articles for a local newspaper. It takes her about an hour to write an article and about a half hour to edit an article. If Lee works up to 8 hours in a day, how many articles can she write and edit in one day? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my X my writing. And my Y is going to be my editing. So not only do I want to label it there, but I want to label my axes. Remember, we always have to have our axes labeled with words and with numbers about how we're counting. So now I have to write my equation. It says it takes her about 1 hour to write an article. So I have 1 hour, and writing I said was X. And about a half an hour to edit an article. So plus 1/2 edit I said was Y. And I only want to work 8 hours in a day. So I need that to be less than or equal to 8 hours. So we can go ahead and solve this for Y. So subtract the 1x, subtract 1x. I get 1/2 Y has to be less than or equal to -1x plus 8. To get rid of 1/2, we can go ahead and times this whole thing by 2. So I get Y is less than or equal to -2x plus 16. So I can go ahead and I can graph that. I'm going to begin at 16. And -2, remember, I can always write that over 1. So that'll help me with my slope. So it means I'm going to go down 2 over 1. And I'm going to do this over and over and over again until I can't go anymore. Because then it's a less than or equal to, I have a solid line. And I'm going to shade below. So example number 4, Coach Washington wants to take her softball team out for pizza and pop. Each large pizza costs $12 and each pitcher of pop costs $3. She doesn't want to spend more than $60. Write an inequality that represents the situation and graph the solution set. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video, try this one on your own, and then come back and check your answer. So here's what I ended up with. It was a little hard to graph that slope because the axes went up by 5s, but be careful, this is still over 1. So when I did this, you wanted to make sure that you actually went over 1, which was 2 lines over, not just 1. So really, really, really make sure that you watch your scaling in these situations. Last example, at Six Flags in Chicago, there's a flat admission fee of $25. For every special attraction X that you want to go on, it costs $5. Let Y represent the total cost of your trip at Six Flags. Write and graph an equation representing this situation. Notice that it says we're writing an equation. So that is just a Y equals mx plus b. This is not talking about inequalities, so therefore it's not going to have any shading. So if I have a flat fee of $25, that's what I'm beginning with. I pay that no matter what. The thing that's moving is it's going to cost me $5 for every attraction I want to go on. So I have 5x, and I want that to be the total money that I spend. So my X actually stands for my number of attractions. And my Y costs for my total cost. So now I just need to make sure that I actually scale those axes too. So I'm going to go by 1s on the bottom. And then on the side, I'm going to go every other as a 5. So it gets a little messy there, I apologize. But here we go. I'm going to start at 25, begin with my B. So that's right here. And then I'm going to move with my M. So I'm going to go up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1. And I can do this over and over and over again. Now remember, we said this was an equation, not an inequality. So this is just going to be a solid line and no shading. Your turn to go ahead and try practice number 6. Make sure it's done before you come to class tomorrow.